want you to lean on your neighbor and say to your neighbor, broken bones won't stop me from dancing. Tell 3 people, I hope you dance, I hope you dance. History is extremely kind to this writer whose name is David, who is the king of Israel and the king of Judah. Most of my messages comes out of my experiences. When I read the Bible, I'm real fascinated by how great preachers preach. But I wasn't given that gift. I was given the gift of truth and transparency. I'm finishing up a chapter in a book that I'm writing, and I won't tell you the name of the book yet, but I will tell you the chapter. The chapter is No Lies and No Truth. Which means if there's no lies and there's no truth, there's no truth and there's no lies, sort of kind of oxymoronish, then what I am suggesting to you is that what you're seeing is not the truth and is not a lie. Then what is it? It is perception. And most people perceive things that are not true. It's how you see it. And sometimes how you see it, it just ain't so. And some of you married folks that you thought was one thing, just to find out that just ain't so. There's a psalm in the Bible, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, Psalms 1 says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in that law doeth he meditate day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of living waters, that bringeth forth fruit in its season. Its leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever thou doest, it shall prosper. Then it goes on to say, but the ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff with the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in judgment, neither sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly, it shall perish. Wonderful, wonderful text. But David didn't write it. He is giving credit for being the great psalmist. And most people, when they read the book of Psalms, they think that they're reading the writings of David all the time. Out of 150 Psalms, David wrote about 71, 72 of them. But he gets credit for any time the book of Psalms is mentioned. David doesn't write wonderful psalms like that. David's psalms start up in chapter number 3 and chapter number 23 and chapter number 47. He writes psalms like, why does the wicked prosper? He writes psalms like, yea, though I walk through the valleys of the shadows of death. And then he gets happy at certain times in his life, and he writes psalms like, clap your hands, all ye people. He writes psalms like, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. And then he retreats and he goes back and he says, when I was wounded, all my wounds came out of the house of the Lord. And so he has seasons when he praises you when you're kind to him, and tells the truth on you when you're not. And there are those of us that are in this room today that we can say that some of the things that have happened to us while we were in the house of the Lord, sitting next to people who smiled in your face, but all times they want to take your place, because that's a backstabber right there.